This NBA season is one for the books, but one thing that really stands out this year, apart from the other years, is the NBA trade deadline. Dating back from December 15th, we've had a ton of trades. Some that don't matter, and some that do. December 15th, the Pacers trade for Thomas Bryant, and the Heat get a pick swap. I mean, to be honest,
we do not care.
But in that same day, the Warriors acquire Dennis Schroeder, and the Nets get D'Anthony Melton, and a couple future second rounders. Again, who really cares?
Well, let's be nice. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it.
I would say at this point, the Nets kind of fleeced the Warriors, because when Schroeder was playing for the Nets in the beginning of the season, he was actually lighting it up, but he really slowed down a lot once he reached Golden State. I mean, the dude was dropping like 20, 25 points a night when he was in Brooklyn, and then once he got to Golden State, it's like he forgot how to pick up a basketball, you know what I mean? But the Nets getting D'Anthony Melton kind of sucks, because I believe he tore his ACL, and he won't even play until next year, so the Nets kind of traded for a guy who's not even going to play. And about 2 weeks later, Lakers trade for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton, and they give the Nets D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, and 3 future second rounders. Now, there's 2 things to note from each side. One thing being that Los Angeles was definitely too big of a market for D'Angelo Russell. I feel like Brooklyn is his real home, and that's where he kind of finds his footing. For some reason, D'Angelo Russell, this whole year, it was impressive how JJ Redick was giving him so many minutes, considering of how bad he played. The tandem of D'Angelo Russell and Gabe Vincent was watching Stevie Wonder and Stephen Hawking trying to play basketball. It was absolutely
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
But Brooklyn is his real home. I believe this is his second or third stint in Brooklyn, and ever since then, he's actually been playing better. Now, on the other side, Dorian Finney-Smith has potential to be really good. I feel like once he finally gets enough minutes and finds his footing, he can be a great solid 3-and-D player for them. He plays very, very good defense. That's kind of what the Lakers need, is a guy who's a solid 3-and-D. A guy that LeBron can dish the ball out to, get eyes off of Austin Reeves so he can pop off. But Shake Milton, I feel like, can make more of an impact if JJ Redick gives him a little more minutes. If he ends up cutting some minutes from Gabe Vincent and gives some more to Shake Milton, I feel like that'll benefit the Lakers a little more. But we'll get back on to the Lakers in a bit. January 15th, the Suns acquire Nick Richards and a second-round pick and give the Hornets Josh Okogie and 3 second-rounders. I mean, Nick Richards is solid. He's a good young big man, and honestly, I feel like that's what the Suns kind of needed. Jusuf Nurkic has proven not to be that good, so Nick Richards, I feel like, could elevate this team. I feel like he has been a little so far, but we'll see. And Josh Okogie is okay. I mean, 3 second-rounders is probably a bigger deal than having Josh Okogie. And there's been a couple little exchanges for picks here and there, you know, about like a week later. But the big trade that I really want to get into is the Lakers and the Mavericks.
And here we go.
So if you're not familiar, some random Saturday night, about 4 days before the trade deadline, the Lakers and the Mavericks make a blockbuster trade. Mavs getting AD, Max Christie, and a second rounder, and the Lakers acquiring Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. This team is a 3-team trade with the Utah Jazz, who end up acquiring Jalen Hood-Schifino and a couple second rounders. We're not looking at the Jazz. We don't care about the Jazz right now. What we're really looking at is the Lakers and the Mavericks. Now, this trade is one of the biggest trades that we've seen in a very, very long time. The craziest thing about this trade is that neither Luka or Anthony Davis have requested a trade. They were just as surprised as we were. They got the call and they were like, oh, what the hell? Luka Doncic was dead ass about to go to sleep. And then he got a call saying that he got traded to LA just like a day after he bought a $15 million mansion in Dallas. So he was not too happy about that. Now, the trade itself is just insane to me. The reason that the Mavericks traded away Luka Doncic, very confusing to me, and I feel like it doesn't really align to what we're actually noticing. I feel like this trade is a little deeper than just having concerns about Luka's weight, but that was the reasoning that the Mavericks GM gave. He was concerned about Luka's weight, with him apparently reaching up to 270 pounds, which is a goddamn defensive lineman. But I just saw a video and picture of Luka, and he looks like he's about like 230 max. I don't believe that for a second. I feel like this is a little deeper than what we actually know about. It's starting to make me wonder if there was more management issues between them and Luka, and there was just a fractured relationship there. Now, on the other side of the coin, Rob Pelinka came out and said that he really was not happy that Anthony Davis had comments about them needing a center. We all know that Anthony Davis is a natural power forward, and he did not ever want to play center once. They made him play center ever since they won the championship in the bubble. He wants to go back to being a true power forward, and honestly, I feel like that's a valid take. That's not ridiculous to say that you want to have another center on the team. But in turn, I mean, the Mavericks gave up way more than what they got in return. They basically just destroyed their future and giving the Lakers their guy for the next 6 to 8 years. You know, the saying defense wins championships is definitely a valid saying, but I feel like Luka Doncic could also help you win a championship. It's not all about the defense. When Anthony Davis is a ginormous improvement at the 4 and the 5 slot, I feel like his health is a little more concerning than what Mavs GM is making it out to be. Because you're saying that you're concerned about this guy's health, and then you go and trade for Anthony Davis, who is historically always injured. I mean, to me, this makes no sense. Before the Lakers, it seems like they hit the lotto right before they were about to hit rock bottom, because now they have their future for the next 6 to 8 years, like I said earlier. I mean, you got a guy who's 25, turning 26 this year, in the prime of his life. He's about 6 years into the league. He's a 5-time first-team All-NBA player, and they gave him up for a guy with paper skin and glass bones. I mean, that's a steal. Los Angeles is a ginormous market, and I feel like every superstar should want to go and play with Luka. I mean, free agency for the next few years is going to be insane. Just when you thought the Lakers were about done and they were going to be sitting on their hands and go through a brutal tank after LeBron retires, that completely changes everything around. I mean, LeBron, he was going to hang up the shoes, but he said he's thinking about signing an extension for another year or two. I mean, this is big news for the Lakers. You get arguably the best basketball player of all time on your team for another 2 years with no real signs of declining, and you have a nice young stud that can carry this franchise for the next few years. I mean, how can you not be excited about that? If you're a Lakers fan, you're jumping for joy, and if you're a Mavericks fan, I feel sorry for you, man. And then, literally, about 24 hours later, less than that actually, there was another 3-team deal that included the Spurs, the Kings, and the Bulls. So the Spurs acquire De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. Kings get Zach LaVine, CD Sicko, I don't know how to say his name, and a bunch of picks. And the Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a pick. Whatever. Who cares about that? The Spurs are already a very young, talented team who are slowly trying to find their footing. But now that they have De'Aaron Fox, they have a nice young piece to pair up with Victor Wembanyama, who is already a top 15 player in the league. And they're going to be a huge threat for the West for years to come. And as of right now, the Spurs managed to keep Chris Paul, which, I mean, you have a great veteran leader to help guide these guys in the locker room. You still got Stephon Castle, who's a young stud. Devin Vassell, who's also pretty good. Kelvin Johnson, who's a beast. I mean, this Spurs team is going to be really, really, really dangerous. But the Kings get Zach LaVine, which is pretty good considering that he's having a pretty big year so far. He's actually shooting pretty efficiently, and he drops about 30 points a night. So they get a solidified scorer there. Zach LaVine gets paired up with DeMar DeRozan again, just like their Chicago Bulls days. So they already have some good familiar chemistry. And honestly, this could lead to some team success later down the line, depending on how things go. And let's not forget that the Kings do still have Domantas Sabonis, who is having a career year and is averaging a double-double. So theoretically, it could work. The Kings aren't completely cooked yet. But before the trade deadline ends, they have to decide if they want to try to compete for the playoffs this year, because they are on the lower seeding. So I believe they are a playing team, or near a playing team, and they have to decide if they want to rebuild around Sabonis. Sabonis isn't exactly the youngest person, but he's pretty good, and like I said, he's having a career year. He's in the middle of his prime. He's just getting started. So if I'm them, I try to rebuild around him. If I'm them, I try to get a bunch of young guys and picks for the future, so they're not completely stuck in a bad spot. But let's get on to the Bulls, man. The Bulls are cooked. The Bulls are not a very good basketball team at the moment. They haven't been for a while. I mean, a team that had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Derrick Rose, Luol Deng, Joakim Noah, Kirk Heinrich. I mean, this team has fallen from grace, man. Even when they had Jimmy Butler, the decline for the Bulls is a little scary. But they do still have Kobe White, who's a young stud, and I guess they could rebuild around him. But as of right now, their season is cooked, so they might as well just start gearing up for next year and the future. But let's get to the rumors that have not happened yet. So Jimmy Butler isn't even generating any heat. No pun intended.
Say that again?
It's seeming like teams are really very quickly getting uninterested in acquiring Jimmy Butler. I mean, he got denied from Miami. He doesn't want to go to certain places, and I feel like that's hurting his reputation, and I feel like that's hurting his stock. And that leaves Miami in kind of a weird spot because they can still compete. They do still have Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, but who knows if the supporting cast around them are going to be good enough to push them to the playoffs. To me, honestly, I feel like they'll be lucky if they're a playing team. If they can acquire another superstar, you know, like Kevin Durant or something, which I doubt, but it wouldn't hurt to have another superstar in the house. But the Warriors are also very aggressive. They're trying to look for superstars. After the Luka trade, I mean, they called for every single superstar available. They saw that nobody was untouchable, and they said, all right, bet. If I'm the Warriors, I try to get a good young talent. I mean, Steph Curry isn't going to be in the league for much longer. Andrew Wiggins stinks, and Draymond Green, he's also getting old. I don't see Draymond Green being on the team for much longer. That whole roster is honestly not very good, and I feel like they need to start either aiming for the playoffs and the championship this year, or they need to just rebuild instantly. Me personally, I feel like they should just hit the reset button, start getting young guys, have Steph mentor them, and see where it goes from there. But word on the street is that Kevin Durant is generating a lot of talk. The Suns are getting very aggressive with trying to trade Kevin Durant, which the Suns team, I feel like, is just full of failed experiments over and over and over again. I feel really bad for Devin Booker, but we'll see what happens until then. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you're interested in some more of my sports takes, go follow my Twitter. I tweet all the time about sports. But thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you!